Welcome, everybody, to the first episode of Room 202. I'm Roman Bolin.
And I'm Corbin Johnson.
And today, we have a man of many travels, a man with many stories, by the name of Gabe Adams.
When you're bored and have nothing to do, come on down to 202.
All right. Gabe, how the hell are you?
Dude, it's pretty great actually.
Really?
Life's been good.
Uh-huh.
Honestly, not much new.
Anything new? No?
Actually, I just got hired. So
Oh,
that's
where at?
nice. At Albertsons. I'm gonna be working at the bakery.
Oh,
Hell
sweet.
yeah.
I'm actually working there tomorrow morning at 1.
So what are you gonna do?
Be baking.
Bacon?
Bacon.
You gonna make
food.
those Albertsons donuts?
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah, those
I don't know
are-
if we have a donut maker, but
You
that
should
would
be
be
the
pretty
donut guy.
awesome.
Those are some of the best donuts in town, I
Yeah.
think. So, at least the cheap ones.
I mean, Krispy Kreme.
Krispy Kreme is good as well.
Those
Yeah.
are some good donuts.
If
Mhm.
you're looking to save a buck, like Albertsons, is where
Albertsons,
it's
yeah.
at. Oh, show.
So, Gabe, I feel like an appropriate way to start our first episode is with a story, and it's quite a doozy.
It sure
You're
is.
familiar with it.
I
Um,
am.
So, I think really the best way to look at this story is you had the best point of view, seeing as I was in the bathroom for the majority of it.
Sure.
Let me set the scene before we go into the actual story. What happened was it was New Year's Eve, and in the very own room 202 apartment,
This very room.
actually in this very corner,
Yeah, it was right here.
we threw a party, or I attended this party,
Just
this
in
New Year's
that
party,
corner, though.
just in that corner.
All right.
And at this, you brought a friend along with you
I did.
by the
Yeah.
name of Jenny.
Jennifer.
Jennifer.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
you live with Jenny
Mm.
and
Yeah.
another gentleman. Let me ask you, what kind of experience does Jenny have with drinking prior to this occasion?
Well, yeah. Jenny is my roommate. She is a transsexual, so she is transferring from a man to a woman. So it's interesting, but she's probably one of the most wholesome people I've ever met.
Shout out to Jenny.
Yeah, of course. But with drinking with her, really, it only gets her with hard alcohol.
Mm.
She sticks with beer. She's pretty good. She just gets a nice buzz on. She can get a little loopy, but and she's within our control.
Mm-hmm.
But if you mix in some of the hard stuff, can really zing her and send her to a bad place.
Right.
Where she's just angry at everything.
Mhm.
And it's not fun, but looking back, it's a funny
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
So,
So, would you say that prior to this was, or I guess, were there instances before this event that we're about to talk about that were worse than what
worse than no.
Okay.
But similar to yes.
Okay.
One time, we were just throwing a party at the house. I think it was a pretty low key thing, but obviously Jenny started drinking, and pretty early in the night she just blacked out. And I just remember we were out front. We were trying to get everyone rides, and she was just harassing she was just yelling at everyone. And we were trying to keep it under control because obviously we didn't want to upset the neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
However, I did have to drag her down and stuff and drag her back in the house.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. So that was just kind of similar, but definitely not on the level as the story we're about to
Right.
talk about.
So, let's get into it. Let's go from your perspective, and then we'll kind of hear from my co-host here, Corbin. And
Well, the problem with that night was I was also under the influence.
Right.
And don't remember too much of it.
all right.
Probably
Well,
more
we'll
than
speak.
one.
I mean,
We'll
I
speak
get-
on his behalf.
Yeah.
More than one substances as well. So
Yes.
it really, yeah.
Really took it out of me.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, let's jump right into this tale. So, New Year's Eve, it's a party in this apartment. Jenny's been drinking hard alcohol. I was with a female at the time, and we were with a few other people in the bathroom, conversing, whatever. This was a packed apartment.
Yeah,
Um,
there's a little too many people.
a little too many
for
for considering the
this
apartment.
apartment.
Right.
It
And
was fun.
what I recall seeing prior to this event was Jenny had her arms all around you and kind of dragging you around, and you could barely walk.
Well,
Um,
I like to have fun.
and she was trying to get you to play Rage Cage,
Yes.
and you were already tarnished. And I'm thinking, I know that he'll survive it, but
I could get another game in, but
that's just like, I didn't want to risk him ending up in the hospital. So that's when I was like, hey, maybe don't let Corbin drink so much. And then I kind of walked off, and then we'll start from where you.
Okay. Yeah, so similarly to you guys, I was kind of hanging out everywhere but here, kind of. I was going to other rooms and stuff, and I was actually hanging out with, I think there was a bunch of people in the room, but somebody runs up to me and just taps me and just says, something, Jenny. I'm like, oh. Okay. Something's going on.
Right.
So I follow the person out, and I see Jenny just sitting in this corner, and she is not having it. She is absolutely, she's just under distress. And, like I said, when she drinks hard alcohol, it just takes her to a very bad place, and she just does not like anything. And I could get more into that, but, I wouldn't like to release as much. But
Right.
Anyway, so I walk up to Jenny and I'm like, hey, how you doing? And she instantly just starts cussing and yelling at me. And at that point, I'm like, okay, she's gone. And the thing with Jenny, when she blacks out, there's no getting her back until she has had a solid 8 hours and she's rejuvenated. So at that point, looking back, honestly, I should have just knocked her out. It sounds messed up.
What could you do?
Just punched her right in the face,
Right.
knocked her out, and partied on.
Might have
Yeah.
saved her a little bit of
That would've
money.
made things so much easier.
Yeah.
But no.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm basically just trying to get her out the front door into my car so I can take her home and lock her in my house so that she doesn't try to burn the city down.
The
which
wrath of
she
Jenny.
would try to do.
Yeah.
And yeah, so
So
trying to get her over there and everything, and yeah.
the aspect of this story that I think is super comical is when I was in the bathroom, I heard, clear a path, like people screaming. I'm like, oh no, I thought someone was throwing up or something like that. And I peek my head around the corner, and Jenny is grabbing onto the table,
Yeah.
and she's very mad, shaking it violently.
Yeah.
And, she's not letting anyone leave. And I foolishly step in the way while people are trying to get her out the door. And when they did get her out of the door, there was an attempt to re-enter.
Yeah.
And then we believe that the downstairs neighbors maybe had called the cops because of the noise.
Yeah.
And so I remember I ran out to my truck and I stayed in my truck for a little bit with this girl I was with. And then, hey, what can I say? What can I say? Yeah. So, and then we saw some squad cars leaving the lot, and so we're like, okay, it's good. So as we're walking back up, you look across from the walkway up into the apartment, and there's a bunch of emergency vehicles. And we had assumed at that point is when they kind of got Jenny and took her to the hospital to check her out. Two things that I think are important. Number one, you didn't walk away unscathed.
Yeah,
No.
There was a...
No, I didn't. And I can go over a couple more details from the story as well.
Yeah.
Just things I've actually just remembered.
Mm-hmm.
So we walked out. I basically had to throw her down the stairs, which, whatever.
Right.
And my buddy Hunter, my cousin, was trying to help me out and stuff. And and we were just basically walking out there for the longest time with her and just trying to calm her down. But, it was useless, because like I said, there's no getting her back. So, we hear sirens and we're like, okay, yeah, the cops are coming. They're coming here for sure.
Yeah.
And I've had a few drinks, but I'm not worried because
Right.
the cops are just trying to help. Like,
Yeah.
they're not trying to bust anyone on New Year's.
Exactly. Exactly. That's kind of what they have to
Yeah.
expect. So.
And so cops show up, kind of observed the situation, and it's pretty obvious as of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of explained to the police what are doing, and the firemen even show up, and they just leave instantly though, and so did the police and the paramedics stay. And yeah, she was actually she wasn't getting up, so they were threatening her with a misdemeanor actually, but she thankfully ended up not getting that. But yeah, and then they took her off to the hospital, and then I was just exhausted. And and a little bit before that, I'm kind of tussling with Jenny a little bit because I'm trying not to have her hurt anyone or anything.
Mm-hmm.
And we end up on the ground, and I'm choking her out. And she turns her head over and bites me right on the forearm. And I can maybe try to roll up my sleeve.
Oh, wow, there's still a mark.
Still definitely. I'm just going to take off my jacket.
Yeah.
So, I can show the camera there.
Yeah.
There's like still a decent scar.
That's
It's
a gnarly
fading,
one.
Which
Yeah.
is good. So, yeah. Anyway, so...
That's when, like,
Fun times.
someone's...
I was pretty pissed I
Yeah.
didn't get any superpowers or anything, but... shit.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
When someone, like, bites you, that's when you know that they're,
That's not something a rational person thinks.
No.
Especially
like a bite like
leaving
that
a mark.
one,
Yeah. Were you worried about, like, infection or anything, or did you clean it?
Actually, it did cross my mind. Yeah, it definitely crossed my mind. But, no, I talked to Jenny afterwards, and she, of course, doesn't have anything, and we were totally good and everything, but yeah, it was like swelled up and stuff, and it was all purple, and the darker part there was actually where pure skin, and keep in mind, actually, I was wearing a long sleeve like sweater at the time,
So there was some resistance.
and there was still blood there.
Damn.
So if I hadn't been wearing a sweatshirt, she probably would have bitten that whole chunk out of my arm.
So just to wrap up the story, I understand that there was also some incidents, I'll say, that took place while at the hospital for Jenny.
Yeah. She doesn't remember it obviously, and I wasn't there. But apparently, through her adventures, she ended up breaking a sink and had to pay for that. And that's pretty crappy.
I think that part of the story is important because it's the fact that no one on earth knows how she did that. Like, she was so blacked out she couldn't remember. People walk in and the sink's just broken.
Yeah.
So honestly, I feel like that's props to Jenny, personally.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll have her on someday. I think.
That'd be great. Please, we'd love to have Jenny on. So we've established our story here.
Got that.
Now, there's something on the topic of drinking that I'd like to bring up.
Okay.
Let me reference my thing here. Gabe, are you familiar with the practice of butt chugging?
Butt chugging?
Yeah.
I can't say I am, actually. I can't, no.
So, are you aware of how butt chugging works?
No, I've heard of the term, but I've never been curious enough to look it up.
So basically, you put alcohol in your butt.
Yeah, that's about the long and short of it.
That's about it. Yeah.
So, you got to go upside down.
Okay.
And someone puts a funnel with a tube in your rectal cavity, and you pour it in. Now, the thing about butt chugging that's important to note is that it skips your liver. So you get really drunk from it, but your chances of getting like alcohol poisoning or even damages to your asshole are so high. It's like,
I would think
so,
yeah.
So I'm bringing this up because I found this article from the Huffington Post. Butt chugging leads to severe alcohol poisoning of University of Tennessee student.
Oh no.
Let's see. Now, this is amazing. I want you to guess this individual. I want you to guess kind of what his background is.
Okay. I'm thinking this guy.
A guy who takes alcohol in the ass. What
What kind of guy?
College student.
Oh, what kind of college student?
takes?
Well, Gabe, I'll tell you what
Yeah,
kind of college
just-
it is. I'll tell you.
Yeah.
A frat boy.
Oh.
Um,
Oh.
Early Saturday, 20-year-old Alexander P. Broughton, I think I'm saying that right, of Pi Kappa Alpha, was brought to the emergency room and showed a blood alcohol level thought to be well over 0.4.
Those Kappa boys. Always.
Those Kappa boys, they're always getting into trouble.
But I don't
How
get.
dilated was his anus?
Yeah.
they
Um,
have
don't
to
think they
like
go into
shrink
detail.
it down.
I don't know that they go into detail. I don't even know that it says what kind of alcohol he
Device.
consumed. Yeah, what device he used.
I
The
just-
medium of which
I don't
he...
get where does the idea come from? They're like, yo, I'm gonna put alcohol in my ass.
Bend over,
Yeah.
bro. I'm gonna
And then-
shove
and then,
this beer
like,
bong up your
Everyone's
ass.
like, hell yeah, let's
Hell
do
yeah,
it."
dude. Well, you know, his frat brothers, I don't know, man.
I mean, maybe it's like an initiation kind of thing.
That's what I think, probably.
That's a weird thing. A
That
lot of
would be weird, yeah.
frats have weird things.
They
Though.
do.
So I have a weird frat thing. Look, just a disclaimer. If you're in a frat, we're not directly saying that people in fraternities are less than. However, you have to admit that fraternities in and of themselves are weird things. So I have a friend, an individual who I will not disclose, who is in a fraternity, and I remember when he came back from school to visit, back here in Boise, we were talking about what did you have to go through an initiation to get into the fraternity? And quote, he said, "I'm not allowed to talk about it." Dude,
Damn.
you're not in the CIA.
Yeah, right.
And he goes, all I can say is it involved a lot of alcohol, which for me goes without saying.
Well, yeah, and with those initiation type of things, you read about those in the newspaper every once in a while or see them on news, and sometimes it ends really badly, and it's
it's
horrific,
tragic.
Yeah, and it's just awful. But I also understand the sentiment and stuff. With, even with
A kinship.
with high school sports teams,
Right.
I'm sure there's different kinds of
Yeah, like
initiations.
stupid shit
Oh
that-
yeah, but yeah,
100%.
No, it's I don't think I would ever join a frat.
No,
Honestly.
I wouldn't
think
either.
would. It just doesn't sound appealing.
They definitely offer a lot of things that are good.
I feel like if you're a new person joining a school, it wouldn't be a bad idea, but
Right.
because you meet new people, you get into the groups.
Mm-hmm.
But
And I know a lot of them promote studying, proper college
Yeah.
etiquette. Ironically, I guess, considering that those are, it's like fraternities are so infamous. It's like there's ranking of what kind of party you want to go to, and if there's someone's
Right.
like, oh, there's a frat party,
those
you know
are-
what I mean?
Yeah.
I think, frat parties. I've never been to one personally, but
I've been, I don't know that I've been to one either. Not that I knew of it.
nothing to say like that was a crazy frat party.
Yeah, exactly.
we need to get on
Yeah, I'd definitely
That's
be
an
down to go
experience
to
we
a
need
frat
to-
party.
that. A frat, yeah.
I feel like that'd be an adventure, but yeah, being a part of it and stuff, I don't know. But to go back to the educational thing with them, I know that they're regulated by the school and everything, and if the grades are not up to par, they will shut it down.
Yeah.
That frat down or that sorority. So
They have to be on
they have to maintain their
Yeah.
grades in order to
So-
even maintain that status. So
Definitely something I find impressive. I think it's interesting that they have a reputation for being, just animals,
Yeah.
but they most likely have the highest grades in the university on average. So
yeah,
that's something to keep in mind.
yeah. it's
Now,
interesting.
Gabe, we were talking about how you just got a job.
Yeah.
And I'm currently seeking a job.
Mm.
I'm working on it diligently.
I am
Not-
also
not that hard.
unemployed.
Corbin's also unemployed for the moment. So I think it would be a great time to talk about some just absolute ass jobs.
Oh.
So Corbin, you wanna start us out?
I think the worst job I've had was working at CSB,
Mm.
and that's a beer delivery company. And it was fun. I enjoyed delivering beer and going around the state delivering beer. But you have to get up at 3 and be there at 4. And that's not something I like to do. Is get up that early.
Yeah.
And I'd say that.
Yeah, and now it's during the summer too.
Yeah, and I was missing a lot of parties. I remember the 4th of July party we had.
Mm-hmm.
I partied all night,
Mm-hmm.
and then I had to leave at 4 in the morning. I stayed up all night till 4, and it was miserable. It was miserable. I could not.
That's awful.
But yeah, and then I worked at Fred Meyer's for a year, and that was pretty fun. I just dicked around. But yeah, what about you?
Geez. So, my mom used to own a food truck, and I worked in there, and I wouldn't say that was a shitty job, but it was definitely like, when you're 13, you don't want a job. You're just kind of like, So I mean, that was, but I would say just like shitty. Okay, I'll say. I won't disclose the name of the place, but I will say that there's an organization that oversees the operations of a certain amount of schools in Idaho.
Okay.
That's what I will specify, and I worked for that organization as a cleaning person, as a custodian. Yeah, and that was disgusting. That was awful. And the thing is that it was a summer only job for people who were either in between years of high school or going from high school into college, and it was only offered during the summer. And there was a variety of positions. I just happened to be on the custodial position because I was a young man, and I didn't understand, effort and working hard and all that stuff. So.
So working for like a company that oversees like schools and stuff. So you went to schools and cleaned up little kid poopy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh,
Oh yeah. All kinds of
That
good.
is
So it
awful.
was
Oh, no.
usually it was a different school every day unless they needed us to do like a bigger project, and then I think the max was like 3 days in a row at one place. And I had to get up at 7 and I worked until 4. Which is about a standard working job for a normal person, but it was like, I was in high school, it was my summer, and I was trying to enjoy it, and I had to work 5 days a week for, full time. But I made a lot of money from it. Didn't save it well, but yeah, it was gross. I remember specifically having to, cafeteria tables fold up into kind of a teepee. And I remember having to sit in a rolly chair with a razor and had to scrape gum from under it for hours on end. And there was one school, the elementary schools were the worst. One school where we swept all of the gum that we had scraped off into a pile, and it was massive. It was a mound of just gum.
That's gross.
Oh.
And I kind of decided then and there that like. I need to do something with my life because scraping gum is not a
option.
flashy, and respect to people who can do that for a living, but it's not my cup of tea.
Yeah.
But I have some interesting jobs, and but that was the worst one. What about you?
Okay. First job I had, I was 14, and I worked at Dennis Dillon Auto Park, which is like which is just like a car dealership / detailing place. They do a whole bunch of stuff.
Right.
Anyway, so the cars on the lot, right? They always look clean, right? They always look great. Guess who had to fucking do that shit?
Yeah.
Me.
You were the guy.
And so we got a big crew going, and about like maybe 7 people, and then there was a head, and we just went out there, and they would take like a pressure washer, they spray it down, and we take these things called chamois, which were kind of like towels, but they were just super absorbent. And we would just wipe down the cars.
Like a ShamWow kind of.
Yep. Yeah, exactly like ShamWow. And just each and every car we would clean. And I always remember the worst days were in Caldwell, in the Caldwell dealership, because first of all, it gets really hot out there in the summer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
I bet.
with the blacktop, it's just hell.
Yeah.
It feels like you're in hell because
It's so hot.
yeah, no, it's just terribly hot, and they also have a big dirt lot with a bunch of trucks. So I was the guy that had to jump from bed to bed and clean the tops and the back window.
Oh man.
And yeah, no, I slipped and ate shit a few times in between trucks and stuff. And yeah, I mean, it was a fun job, honestly. I did it for 3 years, so I must have liked it somewhat. But
do you have a history of like severe injury like that? Like you said, you got hurt. Is that something that's happened frequently in your life?
No, I don't get hurt. I've broken fingers and toes from wrestling. I'm sure Corbin can relate to that. And
No.
No, I didn't.
I'm sure you've twisted some.
Oh yeah,
Stuff,
I've
though,
seen
yeah.
some things too, but
Yeah. But my worst was I was in 7th grade and I was playing football and I was on the kicking team and I saw the guy with the ball that had just received it and that was my moment of glory for the season. I was going to destroy that guy, lay him the hell out. And back in that day, I was a lot smaller, a lot lighter. So anyway, but the guy comes up, I'm just about to tackle him and he jumps. And literally how it happened, and I kind of had my head down a little bit, he jumped right on top of my head, and I got a compression fracture in my spine.
Oh, wow.
And that was no fun, but that healed
So
after like 2 weeks.
Mm.
And
Like
I was fine. So.
stepped on your head.
No, he jumped and like his padding, like his chest, hit the top of
Oh,
my, like all of his
really?
weight just went right on my.
Wow, so he really launched himself.
Yeah, I'm lucky I didn't like break my
Yeah,
neck
for
or
real.
hurt my neck.
Yeah.
That would have really sucked. But
That would have been
it was
gnarly.
just down on my back, and yeah, it was interesting though.
I think the worst injury I've ever had was all in the same sequence of events. I was riding my bike. It was 5th grade. I was going to like my last day of school, or like 3rd to last day of school. Maybe it was 6th. No, it was 5th grade. And I had my little shitty Walmart BMX bike. And I'm going up and I'm going to hit the curb because I live right around the corner from the elementary school I went to. And I go to jump off go up on the curb, get a little bit of a ramp, and I just flew forward and I knocked both of my front teeth out.
Ooh.
I broke my finger, and I sliced my lip open so badly that there was so much blood that I thought I had busted up both my top and bottom lip. My face was just like covered in blood, and it was a pretty gnarly crash. I'd say and then just like vehicular accidents, busting up my fingers. It's usually my fingers.
Yeah.
So
I've never been in like nothing too. I've never broken a bone. Never done anything too crazy to hurt myself.
yeah, I was gonna say you live fairly safely.
Yeah, I got a pretty chill life going
Cushy
on.
life.
Not much.
Are you okay with pain?
Yeah, I enjoy it actually.
Really?
It brings me pleasure.
Sexual pleasure?
A little bit. I mean, sometimes.
Have you seen that one episode of Black Mirror where the guy is addicted to pain? It's called Black Museum. I would
No, I haven't
check
seen
it out.
it.
Everyone watching, check out Black Museum, Black Mirror.
Black.
Is it cool?
Amazing.
Is it?
It's
Oh
a great
man,
episode, and
that's a great show just in general.
yeah. And for one scenario, it was this guy who he was a doctor, and he would diagnose people, and they invented this technology where they would put a thing in someone's head, and then he would put on this net and be able to experience any pain that they felt. So if somebody came in and was unconscious, he could just put that on and see, oh, okay, he broke his leg, and my insides are hurting, maybe he cracked some ribs or something. So, but the guy ended up, it goes down this whole rabbit hole anyway. I don't want to spoil it, but
Yeah.
it's really good.
Black
Damn.
Mirror's. I've only seen a couple episodes, but it's a really good show. I love shows like that.
It's-
Just like fuck with your head.
I think that it fucks with your head. I think that it's very much its own thing. There's nothing else like it out there.
It's true.
And it's I think has, in my opinion, has really helped establish some actors that are just now becoming more popular.
Definitely.
I can't remember his name for the life of me, but the main actor from Get Out.
Yeah, I don't know.
He's a British actor. He was on. Maybe I'm thinking of a different guy, but I'm fairly certain he was on an episode of Black Mirror, and so there's
Yeah.
that. And there's a few other actors.
Black Mirror is not entirely original. I think it stemmed from the Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
Oh,
back in the
100%.
70s and stuff.
Yeah.
I think.
Aren't they re-releasing?
Yeah,
that?
so I watched the trailer. It looks really cool. So Jordan Peele, from Key and Peele, he directed
You know.
Get Out, and he's directing Us, the one that's coming out soon.
That
He
looks
directed
good.
Us.
The Us.
I haven't heard of that one.
I think it's the same concept of Get Out, but it's just different characters and different things. I don't know. It looks good though. I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
Captain Marvel though. That comes out today,
Captain Marvel.
and I'm gonna watch that. I'm a big fan of Marvel.
Gosh, dude. Yeah, I just get, like I said, I just got a job today, so I
Money
can't
coming
afford anything. Actually, I did get hella bank for my tax returns.
Heck
though,
yeah,
so
I need to
nice.
do that. I need
That's
to get on
nice.
that.
You should. It's worth it.
Yeah.
Like, hella worth it. But yeah, interesting.
But yeah, excited for Captain Marvel.
Mhm.
There's new Hellboy coming out. That looks good.
Yeah. So they
Really?
just
So
released.
goofy. The trailer just looks so like.
Yeah. But,
So
look,
I did a little, I mean not necessarily research, but I watched a video on Hellboy, the Guillermo del Toro original 2. They're really, people shit on the second one, but I think it's a pretty solid entry. Obviously the first one's better, but that's just kind of how it goes. But he took a lot of things from the graphic novels and kind of mishmashed them, and then, but like the majority of those films are things that he just kind of made up on his own, and they do the character justice. But I'm thinking that this one is a little closer to the surface of how it originally is written.
Okay.
So they dropped a new trailer, and it looks really, really cool.
A little darker, I'm assuming.
Kind of. It has a lot of. I think the thing that interests me most is like the monsters are really cool
Really.
looking.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
you know
I'll
what?
definitely check it out.
Yeah, I'll watch it.
The-
I understand that people are kind of starting to become wary, and maybe a little tired of. I guess that's one and the same, of superhero films that take a goofy approach. I know that you're not looking forward to Shazam.
Yeah, I'm not excited about that one just because I feel like it's going to be more like goofy than superhero kind of action.
Right.
But like the reason I like Marvel is because it puts comedy, action, superheroes, and
It's perfect.
yeah,
Mhm.
they're really good movies.
Yes.
Mhm.
But like with the Shazam, I feel like it's just gonna be too goofy.
Mm.
The one thing like Thor Ragnarok, thought that was a really good Marvel movie.
Mhm.
But there's like times where they ruin the action with like silly comedy. And
A little quip here
yeah,
and there, and it's
and
just
I-
like,
Yeah.
oh.
I think that's the
Yeah.
biggest downfall of a lot of movies now. The recent Predator movie that came out.
Oh,
I didn't see that.
that was so funny.
See, but the people were saying that they didn't like it because it was too quippy.
yeah,
Really.
I thought it was a really funny movie. I thought it was pretty cool too. Movie.
Mhm.
It was funny.
That's the thing. I think I don't know. There's an extent when it comes to movies that critics are always looking for like that next like Citizen Kane kind of thing. But some movies are just are purely entertainment visually. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh,
like-
hands down.
Like this is another superhero movie, but the most recent Aquaman movie with Jason Momoa, I would say the plot or whatever is like, the acting is good, right? But it's not like, Denzel kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But what makes that movie so like good is the visuals are stunning.
Yeah.
Like it's visually very pleasing,
Yeah.
and like the action sequences are really, really cool.
They do really well with the CGI.
The CGI is really well done.
Yeah, like Ready Player One. I saw that recently,
Mm.
and that was an amazing movie to watch. And I enjoyed the story because I got all the references and
Right.
stuff. And it was a cool movie
Yeah.
to see, but the acting was not great, and the story was uncaptivating. It really didn't draw me in. I wasn't interested in the
Yeah.
characters. Didn't
Right.
really care. So, no, but movies that have great CGI. I mean, it's one thing, but I prefer to see an amazing actor put on a great show.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I want to feel it. I don't want to see it.
Mhm.
You know.
Well, do you watch Game of Thrones?
Oh,
I think the acting in that,
Game of Thrones.
the acting in that's just like
It's so
good.
good.
'Cause, like,
It's very good.
They like convey you to like perspective on these people, but they're just actors.
And I think
Yeah.
one of the things that makes it so great is a lot of those actors are traditionally like theater actors.
Mm.
From my understanding, and theater acting is very different, but at the same time, the kind of like old timey speak that that you evoke when you do older plays is very well translated into Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
I would say, Game of Thrones is great, and it's very intricate, and the characters are great, and you know it's a long season, so you can watch a lot of it. But for me personally, I think that Breaking Bad still tops it, even with 5 seasons. Even with 5 seasons, it's just like.
Breaking Bad's good.
And I think the reason why for me it is so good is because when it shows, like you think of like an action movie and you see like a bunch of people die, it's not impactful to you, right? It's not like it doesn't really get you, but like in it's done so like not necessarily sparingly in Breaking Bad, but it's done with a purpose. They're killing with a purpose, so it makes every single time that someone dies feel like such a huge event in the show, and it really draws you in. Alongside the acting is incredible. It's incredible acting. So
What I really enjoy about Breaking Bad is like start to finish, like seeing this guy, just like your average has wife and kids, he's doing his best to survive, and then he just goes from this like normal guy to like this like drug dealing like
like Kingpin.
Yeah.
Vince Gilligan, the guy who made the show, said that the goal from day one with that show was trying to turn Mr. Chips, or like a Mr. Rogers kind of guy, into Scarface.
Yeah.
Which is, it's done expertly. And it's what's great is that people theorize where, Walter White turned from Walter White into Heisenberg. You know, that alter ego of like being just like this kingpin who's only caring about his empire.
And making money.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, and yeah, with roles like that, first of all, nobody has ever played someone like that on screen.
Mm-mm.
Same with the Game of Thrones people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's been similar things that have come up, but you are not playing Jon. Like, you are the person that's playing Jon Snow.
Right.
No one else is doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And through these, is the 8th season coming out?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for 8 years. More than 8 years,
Yeah.
because it takes like 2 years for each season.
Yeah.
These people have lived with these roles.
Yeah.
And this is what,
That's
and
who they
it's
are.
sustained them. You know, they don't have to get any other jobs or anything. I'm sure. I mean, I've seen other of them act.
Yeah.
Others of them
I
act,
know the one that plays Sansa is in
The new X.
the new X-Men. She's Jean Grey. She does a good job with that, I think. She's well casted. She's a good actress. Yeah. And I think it's cool with both of those shows that they give you characters that are so complex that you can't hate them. You know what I mean? So like even with like Walter White, it's like, yeah, he does all this horrible, like inexcusable shit,
But you're still like rooting.
but you're still kind of rooting for him. You still feel for the guy. And then, but on the other hand, oh, not I guess on the other hand, but same kind of notion. What's the name of the incest brother from Game of Thrones? Wooden Hand?
Jamie Lannister.
Jamie Lannister. You start out in that show, and he's just like so scummy and shitty. I remember when I first started watching Game of Thrones or like getting into it. I guess not watching it, but when getting into it is when I came over here and I overheard the show, and I look and he's having this conversation with a guy in a cage. This is when he was captured, and he's just being like really nice to this guy. It was like the most human you've ever seen him, and then he kills this guy. Just randomly, and you're like, oh man, fuck this guy. And then you see over the next like season and a half him develop into like honestly a good person.
Yeah.
Like he did horrible, awful shit, and he's gross for fucking his sister. But you see him like turn into someone that you can kind of get behind, and it makes you feel conflicted because you're like, damn, he did some shitty things,
You'll think like,
but he just saved Brianna Tarth's life, so I think that's pretty cool.
Crazy how they do that. They make these characters look so bad, but then they go through this. You go through this journey with them, and you see what they go through, and it totally changes your perspective on them.
Right.
Which is pretty crazy.
And the fact that some movies can do that within a 2-hour space, change
your
mind from this guy's shitty to, he's a hero.
Yeah.
That's an amazing feat. I think that filmmakers
do, and that's what I think is interesting about the difference between the two, because filmmaking, at least on paper, seems a lot more difficult to develop characters and emotion for those characters than television.
Hands down.
Because you don't really have a timeline for the development of that character with television, but in film it's like, well, you got so much time to fill and keep the audience entertained.
Well, imagine if the first episode of Breaking Bad was the first half of the Breaking Bad movie. That would be the shittiest movie that I've ever seen.
Exactly.
Boring as hell.
Right.
But Anyway.
TV shows, they give you time to like really learn about the characters,
Mm-hmm.
and then in movies, movies are crazy because they have 2 hours to tell this story,
Mm-hmm.
and they do it, and sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad.
Mm-hmm. And it's just, and I think that it's starting to change, but for me, the films that get notice in an award ceremony kind of way, so like the Oscars, although they might be good and artistic and that's all good, and I think that there should be a support for indie filmmaking and like the artistry of filmmaking, all that stuff. I do think that there's an importance to include films that aren't traditionally viewed as like an artistic feat. You know what I'm saying? So I know that, what was it, Black Panther was added to the roster for some Oscar award this year, and I think that's, now granted, I believe that was due to
I think they won best costume design.
is that what it was? Okay, so yeah, but I'm just saying, like, I think that there needs to be more of a push for non-traditional artsy films in the Oscar ceremony.
Did you ever see Swiss Army Man?
No, but you know what? I heard it was really good, and I always remember seeing the trailers and thinking it looked cool.
Very good. It's on Netflix.
Is it? Okay, I'll have to check it out.
Daniel Radcliffe and forget the other guy's name. Amazing together.
Yeah.
They have such good chemistry, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a completely new idea.
Mhm.
I mean, a guy goes insane and finds a dead guy, and somehow it reinvigorates his will to live, and it's interesting.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like this, from my understanding, this dead guy that he finds is, like the title says, like a Swiss Army man. So he can you can use him as like transportation in water.
Yeah.
And shit like that.
Yeah.
Or like chopping wood.
Yeah, like
his arm.
There's scenes of him. Yeah, I can't remember of all the things, but I know he like used his teeth. He used like every part of his body for whatever tool he needed. And
Mhm.
It was crazy.
It's interesting. You never really know what's going on. I want to watch it again. I only watched it once, but honestly, by the end of the movie, I was like, that was a trip, and
Right.
I'm still confused. But
Mm.
wow, like emotionally, I was really hit. It was a very heartwarming movie.
Movies like that. Like I watched, I think it was called The Kid in the Striped Pajamas.
Yeah.
Like movies that, like in the end, you're just like, no way,
It's
I
a
don't want
bad
that to end
taste in
like
your
that.
mouth.
Yeah, and it's just on your mind. Movies like that, that's a good movie. When you're still thinking about it
Mhm.
after.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. The film adaptation of Stephen King's The Mist by the same name. The ending of that movie, I won't spoil it, but it's the craziest.
Oh, I know how that ends.
It's the craziest ending I've ever seen.
I haven't seen
Look, you have to look up the ending, even if it's worth it. Like the whole movie, yeah, watch the movie because the movie's really entertaining. It's really cool. It's got some cool effects and the story's good and the characters are really, really good. But damn, that ending.
Yeah, I've never seen the movie, but the
Ending's insane. And there's another film I was just thinking of that this is another indie movie that's, well, actually, I don't know that it's indie, relatively at least. It was actually born of a podcast. Do you know Kevin Smith?
sounds familiar.
He made Clerks,
Oh, okay,
and he's kind of like a bigger guy with a beard and everything. He's really talented. He made a joke on his podcast about horror movie where a guy gets turned into a walrus, like through surgical means. So not an authentic walrus, but
wow.
and so that movie is very underrated. I think
Really?
it's called Tusk. You should check it out.
Tusk.
It's really good. It's just like really, it's hilarious. First of all, it's hilarious, but it's not hilarious like it's so bad it's good. It's a really good movie. It's hilarious because the characters are funny and the dialogue's funny, and the scenes are funny. But it's also quite disturbing to watch, and the ending is fairly depressing, but you feel good because the main character of the film, well, I won't tell you how to feel, but in my opinion, is shitty. Is a shitty guy. Well, I'm pretty sure that everyone would agree with that, but there are some people that say that he didn't deserve what he got, which makes sense. So, but yeah, those are definitely movies everyone should check out. Those are great.
Yeah. No, one last one that I believe everyone should go see is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet. I need to see it. You saw it.
Amazing.
I watched it with some
Great.
guy.
So good.
Such a good movie.
Every scene in that movie, or sorry, not every scene, every second of that movie took an hour to animate. every
It's
second in the,
beautiful animation.
Yeah.
It's so
It's
good.
gorgeous.
it's
Yeah.
like it uses like traditional comic book style with like just like normal animation. I don't know how to
3D
explain
animation,
it.
yeah. It's amazing, and like the different effects, and especially at the climax of the movie where I don't want to spoil it, but you know what I'm talking about. Oh God, that feeling that you got when you saw him like jump off the building, you're like, holy shit, this is the
and then they
fucking
played that
coolest
music.
Spider-Man movie.
It was.
Yeah.
I went in there expecting like
amazing
some
soundtrack too. Yes.
Yeah, I went in there expecting like some like kid like cheesy kind of movie, but like it kept me entertained the entire time.
Oh yeah.
It was a really good movie.
Hands down. Yeah.
The
great voice acting, everything. Loved it. That's your homework, Roman. Check it out.
I'm gonna watch it. I heard it was really good. You know, and that's like, I feel like they should implement, I mean, I guess they have, but they should do more AAA games in that kind of style. I think that, especially like a superhero game, you know, I know that
that'd be fun.
I know that the Spider-Man PS4 game was, a lot of people really like that one. I don't have PS4, so I don't know, but I heard it was really good. But go Xbox. For now, I guess. Yeah, we'll see. But I just think that they should definitely use that kind of style in like a video game. I mean, that'd be crazy.
Like Borderlands kind of has that kind of.
Yeah,
style.
Borderlands has that. And Borderlands
really
is
cool.
Borderlands is such a good game.
It really
There's
is.
so much to do in there. There's like, it's just a good game.
It's just like the video game you want. It's funny.
It's funny. There's a
The
bunch of Easter eggs.
Easter eggs. The action is great.
There's guns.
The guns.
Yeah.
The side missions are fun. Main mission's fun. Soundtrack, gear, the characters.
The skill trees.
The skill trees are so fun.
It's one of those games.
Who's your guy? Who's your character?
For which one though?
What do you mean?
Borderlands. Which Borderlands?
Oh, 2.
I'm a Zero kind of guy.
Yeah, that's who I am too.
Me too.
But Gunzerker.
Gunzerker's good.
If I have to kill a boss, I'm going in with Gunzerker.
Okay.
If I'm just playing to play, Zero.
Zero's dope, and I love the quick movement
Yeah.
kind of stuff. That's sick.
Siren's pretty cool too.
Mhm.
They're making a new Borderlands.
Yeah, it's a third, right? So they
They did the Telltale series.
yeah.
Did you
So
ever play
yeah.
that? It wasn't bad.
Really?
Like, it was pretty fun. Yeah.
But it's the traditional Telltale style, right?
yeah. Where you
Okay.
have to like.
You like make decisions and stuff.
Yeah.
I like their games. I just don't know that Borderlands would be.
No, it was.
I don't know why they brought Borderlands.
I don't know, but it wasn't bad. Like it was definitely. There was moments where I was like, okay, let's just get this going.
Mhm.
But it was pretty cool.
Yeah,
Like, if you're a fan of Borderland, you'll
Right.
get into that.
Telltale games are pretty. I find them entertaining. I know people think that they're kind of like a visual, well, not a visual novel, but like it's just like watching a movie kind of. But I feel like what's great about them and where they top movies is that you decide where they go.
And that those decisions will affect you later on.
Yeah.
Like the Walking Dead one.
Mhm.
I played a little bit of that.
That one was great.
I got the demo for it that I played, and like it's like you can pick up this hammer or you can go save this person. And it's like that'll affect you later on.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty cool.
I think the best game in my opinion, that they've made.
Is Minecraft.
Oh, excuse
story
me.
Mode.
They made that?
Never played
You've
that. You didn't know that?
Yeah,
That's
they have
Minecraft
It's
story
so
mode.
goofy.
No, I
It's
know.
a
I know that
Telltale
they have a
game.
story mode, but I didn't know that Telltale.
Yeah.
It's
Is it?
made it.
So is it like? Is it in that same style too?
Mhm.
That's ridiculous.
So
I'm
weird.
sorry.
Yeah.
That's absolutely
So
ludicrous.
As soon as
I've
I
seen-
found that out, I was like,
I've seen the meme of like the scene where the pig dies and it turns into a fucking
Yeah.
pork chop.
Yeah.
That's ludicrous though.
It's,
I mean, they were just scraping for some money on that one.
don't get me wrong. I'm a man who enjoys his Minecraft.
Right. But I feel like there's a point to Minecraft.
Yeah.
Making a story mode for Minecraft is false advertising, in my opinion.
That's for the children.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a real man, play survival.
Minecraft is not made to immerse you into the game. I don't.
No. It's
made
definitely
to-
for a creative,
It's like a creative challenge.
right,
And,
outlet.
but when you Telltale, they rely entirely on immersion.
Yeah.
If you're not immersed, then it's not.
Then
a
you're
good
not,
game.
and then it's not a good game.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So the fact that they have a meme of a pig turning into a pork chop in a game that's whole thing is to get you involved and get you immersed and get you interested in these characters makes no sense.
No,
It's not. Yeah.
It's goofy.
So we are in the last 10 minutes of our first episode.
Killing it.
We're killing it. So I think that it's time to do a little segment that we like to call. Well, we don't really have a name for it yet, do we?
Not really, but
Just
Sydney,
call it a corner.
Sydney, our intern Sydney, has written down a random topic on a piece of paper, and for the next 10 or so minutes, we're just gonna talk about that. So let me reveal that. It's in my pocket.
Here we go. You nervous, Gabe?
All right.
Corner. Yeah, I'm ready.
I am a little nervous as well. It says,
What does that say?
I don't know what, I think I know what she was trying to say.
Clitons?
Clitons?
Clitoris?
I think that's what she was attempting to say.
Clitons.
It just
Croutons?
it says clitons.
Clitoris. It does say clitoris.
Oh, I see. The R and the I combined to make it does say clitoris.
Clitoris.
Okay,
So,
I'll just say, Sydney, how dare you? Because I know for a fact she asked that question because of my story.
yeah. What story is that?
Ugh. Okay.
Yeah, let's.
So, I'll just say, let me preface this story by saying that dicks and pussies don't look good. They're ugly, okay?
It's true.
They're, I mean, it's like, the miracle of birth and all that shit, but they're not attractive things on the
You ever
body.
seen an old man's balls?
Oh my god. Fucking filthy.
You don't want to look at an old man's
You ever been,
balls.
oh ladies, I'll tell you one thing about the locker room. You're lucky.
Yeah.
You know how many times I've seen elderly man ass
It's
within a
Yeah,
proximity
yeah.
of my face?
At the gym, that's crazy.
They don't care, dude. They have nothing left to
Walking
lose.
around naked.
Dude, I'll change in the stalls for that reason. I'm not. Look,
Hey.
I got nothing to prove.
We're here to talk about clits.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I don't know
I
too much about the clit. I know where it is.
Yeah.
I know what it does.
yeah, I think that's all you really need
That's
to
all
know.
you
I
need to
know
know,
what to do
dude.
with it.
Yeah.
So,
Do you know what it looks
So,
isn't it just like
it's like a
Just
little,
touch
it's
it.
like a bubble.
It's like a piece of rice.
It's like, yeah, it's like a, it's kind of like, it's just like a nipple on the vagina. It's a
It's
a
a
nipple.
baby penis.
It's a
That-
vip. Yeah, it's a little dick. It's a tiny little dick.
Oh,
You know, people who are transitioning, or in physically. No, they take hormones and it. I'm not sure if the hormones do it or they do something and it elongates the clitoris to look like a penis. But I've always wondered, and tweet us at Room202 Podcast to answer my question. Is it when it gets longer? Is the whole thing as sensitive as just like the end when it's on like a normal woman? Because that would be awful. I'm like just like every step you take is like.
Oh
shit.
Oh fuck. So sorry. This story. Let me breeze through this story here. Basically, this individual, female who I don't know, added me on Snapchat, and said, and she messaged me and she's like, oh sorry, I thought you were, first name of some person, and then my last name, not my name, not my first name, and so I was like, okay, whatever. I'm like, you're good. So I leave it. She leaves me on red. I open it, whatever. So, not a big deal. Nothing I think twice about. Then I wake up the next day, and I open my phone and I see I have a Snapchat from her, and I'm like, so I open it, and it is a close-up picture of her clitoris. Now-
like, was the labia spread?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll say
You just need those some days.
it's just like it's not I guess super offensive, but it's fairly jarring when you're first waking up. I had to I didn't have my glasses on or anything, so I was like, what the I was like, I didn't believe it at first. I thought it was just like, I don't know, some kind of like meat. She's like, look what grandma made. And it turns out it was straight cooter.
What would a girl's response be? Like, if she just woke up in the morning, you sent her a picture of your fucking...
I guess it
The
depends on
tip
who
of
it
your
is.
dick.
Yeah.
That would be what
Yeah,
it would be.
that would be the
compared to.
equivalent,
Just a
yeah.
close up right on your.
Or like the vein or
Yeah.
some shit, yeah.
Oh, like a really artsy photo of like the vein bulging out.
Yeah,
That's just, like,
black
in the
and white.
foreground.
Yeah, in the foreground it's like it's like a picture of like the civil rights movement, and it's like never forget or something like it's like making a comment, but it's like
God, free the clit.
free the clit. I was like, and so she's like, oh, so sorry, I didn't mean to send that, and I was like, you're good. I wasn't making a big. I'm no stranger to the human body, the female form.
I hope that everyone out there knows.
Yeah.
That when somebody sends you a naughty picture.
Yeah.
Or something, and says sorry that wasn't for you.
Yeah.
That's complete bullshit.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You don't just send those around willy nilly.
Yeah.
No.
You make sure that like your girlfriend's name is right there.
Oh yeah. I mean, look, I don't really do that, but if I did.
Well, yeah. No, I'm saying.
Right. If I did, I would check like 10
Absolutely.
times, and I feel like that's the average person. So I think, and also that's more of a guy move, anyways. That's like something a guy. It's just like, oh, sorry, didn't mean to send you a picture of me fucking with your name written on the underside of my cock while I ram it into a fan.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yikes.
Sorry, that's my bad. My bad.
Sorry.
And it's always and it's pretty funny.
Just in general, the people that say, "Oh, sorry, that wasn't meant for you," most of the time.
Most of them are there lying.
The time.
Yeah.
Unless there's
And
just that random.
well,
guy.
and I've noticed that every time that someone says that or does that, it's usually something that they're like that.
It's a big deal. Like
Right, like it's like something that they're flexing, you know. So it's like oh I didn't mean to send you this picture of my new car, kind of thing. Oh, I didn't mean to send you this picture of my attractive clitoris, you know.
I'm gonna flex my clit.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I found that quite funny.
I don't know too many funny clit stories.
No, you know what? That's my only one. But I will say that that's quite the subject, and I think that that's pretty funny, because if you think about the male anatomy, or at least sexual organs, it's like we got 3 bits. We got the end, the shaft, and I mean you can count the balls as 2 things, but But so I guess we have a few things, but it's like, oh man, you look at like fucking. Hold on, let me find something to reference here.
You never really know, like, are you guys ever like looking for a good porn or something, and you can't find it because all the fucking bitches have like roast beef in between their legs, and it's like I don't want to see that. That just looks smelly.
It just looks smelly.
So
but I mean,
nothing against anyone
not to shit on anyone with the
big vagina lips
with weird vaginas. So, oh man,
that's
Mons pubis. Oh, that was a joke
it
in.
just looks like a portal. Like
yeah, it honestly looks like something straight out of hell. I'm sorry.
Like the Starlight
I'm not saying that dicks aren't, but I'm looking at this medical diagram right here of the female anatomy, and it looks like something straight out of a horror movie.
there was a horror movie where
Teeth.
Yeah.
okay, that one, and there's another one where it's called like It Follows. Where
Oh
it's a
yeah, sexually transmitted like monster thing. Yeah.
Very
So, glands of clitoris. The clitoris has glands too? Well, what the hell?
Well, yeah, it has to like secrete
The labia minora, hymen.
Balls and shaft. That's all I got to worry about.
Hymen torn. Oh, so that's what that is.
Not the tip.
That's
though.
a lot.
Fuck the tip, dude.
That's a lot of information to see. I'm learning right now as we're live on the. Oh, I guess kind of live.
I didn't think this would be educational,
Yeah.
but goddamn.
So,
more about
Proved me
vaginas.
wrong, yeah.
Did you know what the technical term for a taint was, Corbin?
The technical term for a taint.
Yeah.
No.
Perineum.
The perineum.
Perineum. Oh.
That's a small.
That is the smallest anus
I
I've
love
ever
they.
seen in my entire
Oh, I know. They really got it.
I've seen a lot of A's.
Trust me, in my days, I've
like
seen.
a little black X, like you see on cartoon cats. And
It's
shit.
I don't and the line coming out of it is not helping. That's.
It just looks a little leaky. Like it's just not in the best.
I just feel like I feel you guys, the artist on this did a really good job. I wish I could give him a shout out.
I like the bulge, like on where the thighs are. Like
Yeah. Oh yeah, he did a good job. He added pube hair, which is
Like,
a nice touch.
If anyone wants to know what it looks like, it's basically like a woman holding the back of her knees, and just like
Yeah.
just like laying down on her
It's
back.
it's what you would see if you were a gynecologist.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, they did.
Wow.
That little.
I gotta say, as far as vaginal diagrams go, this one was well made, for sure.
Well,
I've seen a lot of vaginal diagrams.
Look, I've seen a few in my days, and I gotta say,
This one.
this is up there.
Health aid.
Yeah.
Just,
So she's healthy.
That's a story
She's
for
a good.
another
She's in
day.
good standing.
Yeah.
So we've reached our hour mark. Surprisingly, that went by fast for our first episode. I'd like to give a huge thanks to Gabe for taking some time out of his day to come and talk to us.
Guys, it was such a pleasure. I had such a lot of fun.
I gotta say,
Please have me back on.
yeah, of course, we love having you on. We love being around you, Gabe. We think that we couldn't have had a better first guest.
Oh,
Perfect. And we'd like to ask you back again sometime to just kind of shoot the shit like we've done.
Anytime. Let me know.
So you can follow us on Instagram at Room202 Podcast, no caps, no spaces. On Twitter at Room202 Podcast, no caps, no spaces. And that goes for YouTube as well. We'll be posting once a week. And we'll be letting you know 2 days before the video releases that it will be coming out. So yeah, that's it for Room 202. I'm Roman Bolin.
I'm Corbin Johnson.
And thank you for tuning in.
Bye.
When you're bored and have nothing to do, come on down